Eric is saucy.
Determined.
Resilient.
As a basketball player and person, Eric Benedick has lived through it all. In February of 2016, Eric got the chance of a lifetime to play professional basketball in Iceland and again in Ireland in September 2016. However, to get these amazing opportunities, Eric had to overcome heartbreaking challenges, such as beating cancer only 3 years ago. But before Eric had to fight for his life or leave the country to play basketball, he was just a regular kid who loved sports.
I was born in Albuquerque, New Mexico on April 2nd, 1990.
Eric did a lot of sports growing up. We started him with baseball, and he wasn't really interested in that. He did soccer, and in the summer he would do swimming, and then he started with basketball when he was about 6 years old.
The sports I played growing up as a kid were soccer and basketball. I was actually more into soccer than I was basketball. As I grew a little bit older, I started transitioning more towards basketball. Once I got to high school, it was strictly basketball.
And in the orange shirt, it's Eric.
When I determined basketball would be a big part of my life was probably around the age of 13.
Come here, Eric. Eric, how old are you?
12.
You're 12? Where do you go to school?
Bogle Junior High School.
I just knew that basketball was something I loved. It was something I had a huge passion for, and it was something that basically defined who I was as a person. I knew I wasn't gonna be like in the NBA or anything like that, but I just knew that playing it and having it as a part of my life and doing that was what I wanted to do.
On your mark, get set, go! How's that?
I would describe Eric as a kid as very athletic, very competitive, and very determined.
He's got 24 points. He's got 31. He's got...
For Eric, his hardest battle began in 2014 and lasted for about a year. His life took a sudden turn when he was diagnosed with stage 2 testicular cancer and had to undergo intense chemotherapy and RPLND surgery.
I was 24 years old when I found out I had cancer.
2 years ago, Eric came to the house and told his dad and I that he had tested positive for cancer.
How I dealt with getting that kind of information, it was very traumatic for me. My life changed instantly.
The day that I found out Eric had cancer, I was doing a basketball camp in Espanol, and he was supposed to be there with us. And he had been sick for a while, and he had sent me a text that said, "Bro, I just got the worst news that any man could get." And so the second he said that, I knew what he was telling me.
Initially, I didn't really fully grasp the severity of the situation. It wasn't until more tests were done and I fully understood really what was going on and how it was going to change my life and how my life itself was threatened.
Testicular cancer is very different from other types of cancer in that it's a solid cancer, meaning it comes from a solid organ, just like colon cancer or lung cancer, but regardless of how advanced it is, it's curable. You expect cure from the very beginning, and you expect for someone to go on and lead a normal life and just kind of have this nightmare behind them. And that's very different from most cancers.
Is it harder or easier to treat versus other types of cancer?
In ways it's easier, meaning that the drugs we use are very effective and you can cure it. But the treatment is not easy, meaning that there are a lot of side effects. People typically get pretty sick during treatment for testicular cancer. But it responds really, really nicely to treatment, especially chemotherapy.
The type of treatment I went through for the type of cancer I had, which is stage 2 testicular cancer, it was a very intensive kind of treatment. Fortunately for me with testicular cancer, it's the type of cancer that it can be eliminated rather quickly.
It was very difficult, especially when it's your child. I remember thinking, why my child? Why Eric? I would have much rather have taken that journey instead of him.
The type of treatment I went through 4 cycles of chemotherapy. A cycle was 21 days in length. The chemotherapy was very, very hard for me. It took me from basically a normal looking person to losing all my hair, losing weight, being very frail. After that, I was given about a month to recover, and then I had what's called a RPL&D surgery. I was split open from my abdomen down to my groin to remove my infected lymph nodes and then stapled back up. I was in the hospital for about a month straight. I was on a catheter, very hard to eat, very hard to move. It was a pretty traumatic thing for me, definitely the hardest thing I had to deal with in my life up until this point, for sure. My bad.
You're good.
Okay, say it again. How I stayed connected to basketball during my treatment was just essentially being around my best friend, Matthew Higgins, and just making sure that I kept it in my life in terms of watching games, going on YouTube, Instagram, just honestly keeping it in my mind that that's what I really wanted to do, and that was something that really motivated me to not give up. Around mid-January, I just remember going into the doctor's office and him telling me that the cancer had been eliminated and that I was technically considered cancer-free.
Eric's battle with cancer inspires many of Eric's friends and family and makes him the determined and hardworking athlete and person he is today.
As a basketball player, he sucks. He's one of the worst I've ever known. But no, as a basketball player, I would say Eric is poised, and that's one thing that I've always appreciated about his game. Even when he was younger, he seemed like a scared little kid, but he never played like one. That poise has kind of turned into toughness. He's aggressive and relentless as a player. I mean, he's got all these physical, I guess, advantages like his speed and quickness, but really it's, as a player, what drives him is what's inside, and it's just this relentlessness.
After he was announced cancer-free, Eric went on to do big things in both basketball and life.
The professional teams that I've played on thus far in my career have been UMF Sindri, located in the country of Iceland, and Belfast Star, located in the country of Ireland.
My relationship with Eric, we're kind of half, well, you know, maybe three different parts. Best friends, kind of a brother thing going on, and maybe even because I'm a little older, maybe kind of a father-son type thing going on. So from that aspect, it was, you know, just as much joy and excitement as I think he had and everybody else had for him.
Finding out that Eric was going to play professionally was one of the most exciting moments of my entire life. I was just stomping around, screaming out of excitement. Like, it was just the coolest story I've ever heard in my life. Like, I was just so excited for it.
I knew it was very important for him, and it was a dream of his, and we just wanted him to fulfill that dream and take it as far as he could.
Not a lot of people get to say that they get to play professional basketball, so to play it at any level, anywhere, is a very big accomplishment. I loved every minute that I got to play for both clubs. I enjoyed every last bit of the opportunity to get to go to another country, experience another culture, and get to do the one thing that I love more than anything in life.
But for Eric, his basketball career has only begun. He wants to keep basketball a big part of his life for as long as he can.
If I could play for any team in the world, I would want to play in the NBA for the Phoenix Suns, just because that's where I grew up, and obviously that's the best team. In terms of playing somewhere in Europe, I would love to go back to Iceland, man. Iceland was a great time. I loved every bit of my time in Iceland. That's an awesome country.
Basketball will take Eric wherever he wants to go. Where do I hope it takes him? I hope he becomes a head coach somewhere. Not necessarily at the high school level. I hope he can coach at the college level.
I would like for him to take it as far as he can, whether it's coaching or training or playing professionally, whatever he chooses to do.
I hope that basketball takes Eric back to Iceland. It was just this situation in which he was able to pursue himself in basketball in this perfect environment. And I would like to see basketball take him back to that, where it's not just this constant struggle to try to find that perfect flow.
From a humble beginning, to fighting for his life, to a professional athlete, Eric Benedick is a true inspiration to anyone who's heard his story, and he will continue to inspire for as long as he loves the game.